Hi everyone and welcome. I'm so glad you are watching this today because this is going to be a very special Easy Properties conversation. We're doing something we've never done before. For the first time ever, we're bringing retail real estate into the Easy Properties fold. Super exciting. That's right. This isn't an office park or a residential block. This is Platinum Square, a high-performing income-generating shopping center in Rustenburg. Just let that sink in. Like, I own retail property. It's got a ring to it. Owning part of a retail center in the traditional sense, that's like a 10 million kind of conversation. But with Easy Properties, you obviously get exposure to the property for any amount you've got. With tenants like Checkers, ShopRite, the 100th store is in the center, MediRite Plus, and a lineup of national brands that we all know, like Capitec, Mr. Price, Pep, Hi-Fi Corp, Ocean Basket, Wimpy, the kind of tenants that fill up trolleys and drive rental income. Music to our ears. So let's talk numbers quick before we get into it, because that's what you're here for. The annual net rental yield on this property is 8.45%, and it's got a 5-year projected internal rate of return at 15.9%. So yes, this is an investment opportunity, but it's also an income play, a growth story, and a first for our platform. So let's get into it. To help me unpack what makes this property tick, I've got two really important people with us today. We've got Carina Steyn, Director of Asset Management at Dorpstraat Properties. She's here to talk through the center's long-term leasing strength, what makes it a standout in their retail portfolio. And then we're joined by Jannie Kruger, co-founder and managing director of Dorpstraat Property, the developers and co-owners of Platinum Square. So whether you're here as a long-term Easy Properties investor, a retail property enthusiast, or someone just scoping out your next move, you're in the right place. Let's dive in after that very, very long intro. How are you guys doing? And thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Carly. Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Hi, Carly. Nice to meet you. Thank you for the introduction.
Sure. I feel like that was my TED talk, but we'll get into it now and get to the good stuff. So let's start with you guys. Dorpstraat are considered one of the premium retail developers in this country. Can you give me a short overview of the company and its developments?
Yeah, we've been in the retail shopping center development and investment for more than 25 years. For the first 15 years, we did it under the name Retail Africa, which was then primarily a developer of shopping centers. Initially, smaller shopping centers. Two of the founder partners are ex-Woolworths, and we focused on the high income market. We always say we go where the big trees are and the swimming pools and the big houses, you know. And Retail Africa was very successful. And then about 11 years ago, we decided, or we actually realized that the assets that we are developing are quite sought after. A lot of our assets today sits in the listed sector. We then decided we wanted to put up structures that we hold them for the longer term and also get quite involved from an asset management point of view. And that's how Dorpstraat was born. You can think almost like Investec with 91, you know, 91 being the asset manager and Investec then the bank. Dorpstraat was very successful, and we then decided to retain Dorpstraat as both the developer and the investor and the manager going forward. In Retail Africa and Dorpstraat, we've developed, I think, and co-developed probably close to 120 shopping centers over this 25 years. Since we formed Dorpstraat 11 years ago, I think we're now close to about 60 shopping centers that we've developed and co-developed. Still today, we co-own and manage about 35 shopping centers, and we've got quite a generous pipeline as well as it is at the moment. Yeah, we do a lot of work with Woolworths and Checkers. We understand their growth strategies in terms of where they want to be, where they see gaps in the markets or where they can have better stores, and that's what we focus on. And Platinum Square is part of an initiative that we did a few years ago. Platinum Square, Carina, if I'm not mistaken, it's somewhere probably about 12 years old now, I guess.
Yeah, we're going for 13 years now.
13 years, yes. And Platinum Square was a strategy at a point in time where we looked into the top 50 bigger towns in South Africa outside of the 4 main metropoles. And realized obviously at the time that Rustenburg had the Waterfall Mall, but there was a huge need for Checkers to establish a big footprint there, hence them being their hyper. And as you said in your intro, it is consistently in the top 2-3 Checkers stores in the country, turnover-wise, over this extended period. And yeah, we're very happy with the investment. And so yeah, Carly, I think as a brief background, that is who we are. Yeah.
Wow, that's quite an impressive portfolio, and with more in the pipeline. That's really interesting. Nice. I guess what I'm interested to know, because I've never invested in a retail property, most people haven't. What are things to consider when you're investing in a retail development? What are some things to think about?
Yeah, it always starts with the surrounding market. I think that's very important. Secondly, also with retail, you always want to make sure that you've got great visibility and access into the site. And from a functional point of view, good open parking. We love convenient shopping centres. This one is quite a large centre, so it also has got bigger value tenant traders in there. So you want to be able to park right in front of the store that you would like to visit. So functionality plays a role. And then, as I said as well, because we focus in the higher income nodes, aesthetically, we always want to make sure that it's of a very high standard. And we love our people spaces at our centres, because that's sort of the heart and soul for the centre. And also at Platinum, we've got a few great restaurants and sort of a public space that with some sculptures that was done by Angus Taylor. So yeah, we like to go a step beyond, apart from just the basics. Yes.
You had me at parking, because I live in Cape Town, and going to the shops and finding a parking is not easy. I'm always so jealous. Like, I used to live in Joburg, and the malls there all have this easy access, and it makes such a difference. Like, you don't think about it until you don't have it. So you had me there. Is there anything you want to add to that, Carina?
No, I think Jannie has actually summed it up very good. And in his words, actually, it's always about location, location, location. And as you also said, that makes the difference, because easy access and convenient parking is ultimately what we're after, especially with convenience, open air centres, and that's crucial for any shopper. So, yeah.
Well, I think let's talk about Rustenburg, because I'm weirdly familiar with it, but a lot of people aren't. And a lot of people, I think, well, it's just this little town. But actually, Rustenburg is a real up-and-coming city, and, you know, a market that's worth watching. Do you guys have anything to say about the Rustenburg market and the retail market in that area?
I think as a sort of a general, as I said earlier, it is one of the bigger towns in South Africa, with, I think, a vast range of industries. Mining does play quite a role in that. So, you know, with the platinum mines around there, and sometimes also I think the sentiment on the ground will be driven by how well the platinum mines are doing. But Platinum Square is located just off the highway, very good location opposite Waterfall Mall. Waterfall Mall, being the regional, is an older mall, and an older style enclosed mall that focuses more on your comparative fashion traders. Most of the fashion brands are in there. So we're just highly convenient in a great location on the higher income side of Rustenburg. Another mall was built towards the other side or the lower income side of Rustenburg as well a few years ago, with also, in fact, a Checkers and a ShopRite as the anchor tenants. But it caters for a totally different market to what we're doing at Rustenburg. And as we said earlier as well, the hyper at Platinum Square is a real monster. You know, it's just such a great store, and consistently just performs so well. You know, which is testimony of the market.
Perhaps just to add to that, with the centre being so conveniently just off the N4 and R24, you actually catch your local residents as your shoppers, and then also your commuters, because there's a lot of traffic on that highway. So it's an excellent position for the centre to be in. So yeah, and obviously also with the mining industry playing quite a big role for Platinum Square, we are also delighted to have the like your ShopRite included in our tenant mix now, because you can really cater for all the LSM markets in Rustenburg. So yeah, I think it's very well positioned.
So it's got broad appeal. And it's been there for a while. This will be its 13th year of trading, right?
Yeah, and we've had very, very little turnaround of our tenancies. So yeah, that's also a great sign for retail. We keep on renewing our existing tenants, which just means that there's a very stable market, stable centre, good investment ultimately.
So who are the anchor tenants at Platinum Square? You've touched on them a few times, and I think let's talk about why anchor tenants are important. Like, what do they bring to the table for investors?
Yeah, look, I think at the end of the day, your anchor tenants bring stability for investors, and that's very important because you've got longer lease terms. You also bring a better tenancy, which obviously creates a good tenant mix. That also brings a better quality of tenant to your centres. With the income on a longer lease term, that obviously creates a better investment for anybody. That ups your yield, it ups your value of the centre. So yeah, that's ultimately they bring the feed, which assist your smaller tenants with their trade as well. So
Carina, if I can add to that, it brings the frequency of feed as well. You know, typically you would know that a mall with, as I said, comparative shopping is more geared towards sort of your month-end shop scenario, whilst if you've got a strong supermarket anchor, pharmacies, those kind of convenience traders, it's the daily frequency that you're getting, and it's the line shops that benefits from that. And if I can add to that, fantastic one-stop shop variety as well. You know, we 33,000 square meters, so we've got many shops, you know, and it gives that variety as well that you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I'm at Checkers at least once a week, and I've seen some of the photos, which we'll share with our community as well. But I'm seeing like kids play areas and Wimpy, and like you can make a whole day of it actually if you're there. There's so much to do and so many different reasons for you to be there. So I can see why that's a huge benefit. What role will you guys play in terms of the day-to-day management and the long-term strategy of the centre, and how does that benefit investors?
Carina, you're welcome to respond.
Yeah, look, Dorpstraat, at the end of the day, we believe in hands-on management. So when we do projects like this, we remain involved from both an asset management point of view, and then also we've recently created a property management company as well with one of our partners, with one of our other investors on one of our portfolios. So yeah, we take a hands-on approach. We stay involved. We ultimately then stay very close to your leasing strategies, your budgeting processes, your day-to-day running of the business, optimal cost management to ensure that we've got an optimal center with that creates the highest yield possible. We stay very close to our tenants as well, and that's where our good relationships that we've got with your Checkers and your Woolworths and all of those guys plays a role, because the moment there's opportunity that comes in, we can use those relationships that we've built over the years to then just make the tenant mix so much stronger. So yeah, we stay very involved on that basis and stay actively involved on what the market trends are, what the new trends in tenancies are, so that you can bring the best possible tenant mix for your shoppers as well, and keep the center going for your tenants to gain traction in terms of turnover. So yeah, I think ultimately that's the role we keep on playing. We stay involved, as I said, on a day-to-day basis on management with the teams, so that we can understand what the pressures are, what works, what doesn't work, and that's ultimately where we will stay involved as well.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's great to hear.
again, yeah, Carly, and if I then can add to that, what makes shopping centers unique is that you've got many tenants that must work together, and you know, everything that happens must happen to the benefit of all on site. And it's different to an office building that's got one tenant, or a residential where it's only your own house that you have to worry about. So you want to stay close to that. And in retail, it's exciting because you've always got new trends as well that comes to the fore. And yeah, so we, like Carina said, I think you really want to be hands-on in the management of the centers.
I never thought of it as much like it's a community and everyone kind of has to help each other and get that flow of foot traffic and, you know, stay in line with what's on trend. And yeah, that's a really interesting take. I'm gonna end this webinar off with a wild card question, just to keep you guys on your toes. And my question is, and you can both give me your answer. We've spoken about this throughout our chat. You've highlighted lots of reasons why this property has a lot of potential in terms of an investment. But let's say we both we're strangers, we get into an elevator together and we're going up to the 16th floor, and you've got 1 minute to tell me why Platinum Square is an amazing investment. What are you going to tell me? What are you going to say? Whoever wants to go first can go first.
Ladies first, Carina, you're welcome.
He threw you under the bus.
No, so I think ultimately, I think what we already touched on, it's about tenant mix, it's about community, it's about our people space, and then ultimately, I think the way we approach it and the way the center was also developed, it was with passion, and that's ultimately what we as Dorpstraat stand for as well, is the passion, and you can see it in our center, you can see it with our tenant mix, with, as Jannie mentioned, a community. We believe it's a community. It's got great yields, great tenant mix, great income, stable lease agreements. So yeah, ultimately, I think that's from my side what I would say. It's an incredible center and investment. And again, location. It's the ultimate thing when it comes to retail.
Yeah, I think she said it, and if I can only add to that, you can't replace it today. It is the dominant big center opposite the mall in the prime location, in a very strong town. So you can't replace that asset. So for me, that is maybe the first thing that comes to mind. And secondly, all the things that Carina said. When we design centers, we design it with the customer in mind in the first instance. And I think we've done exactly that at Platinum Square. So yeah, maybe just 2 things to add.
Well, I'm really excited for this property. I'm definitely going to be investing. For me, it's about having access to retail property, which just wasn't an opportunity for most people, and now it is. And it's also about those anchor tenants and those long-term lease agreements that you've got in place. It's that stability and also the commitment from the tenants that they believe so much in the center that they're willing to be there for a long time, and that the stores they have, they are performing so well. So that speaks volumes to me. But I want to thank you guys so much for the chat today. I really appreciate your time, and maybe I'll even pop in for a visit. Maybe I need to come do a tour of Rustenburg again and come check out Platinum Square.
You're most welcome.
Please do.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Carly.
Thanks, Carly. Thank you.
Bye.